Hi, my name is Megan Hetzler, and I'm going to be talking about my thesis project for this semester.
So the problem that I'm looking at is problems in the food industry. I started really broad and kind of narrowed it down from there. And the five problems that I'm really focusing on trying to come up with a solution to solve different parts of each of them are food waste, accessibility to fresh fruits and vegetables, whether that's food deserts like not being within a couple miles of a grocery store or someplace that sells fresh fruits and vegetables, or whether it be because of the high cost that some people may not be able to afford them and therefore they're inaccessible. Also, nutrition education. A lot of people are lacking those tools to just know how to cut up fruits and vegetables, know how to prepare them and serve them to their families. That can be super intimidating. So, trying to bridge that gap to make sure that everyone feels comfortable purchasing healthy foods and being able to serve them to their families. And then also obesity among low income populations. I know that there is obesity among all different populations, but I'm just specifically looking at the ones in the low income population that might be obese because of going to get fast food more often because it's marketed to be more of a value than healthy foods could be. And then over here in the corner, I just have some facts that I found. So, Americans waste nearly 40% of the food that is produced. This statistic really kind of blew my mind and made me think, how can we use this 40% of food that's going to waste and give it back to those who really need access to fresh and healthy foods? Moving down, so 4 to 5% of the population does not have regular access to fresh and healthy foods. This is really concerning, and it's a problem that definitely needs to be solved because everyone should have access to fresh and healthy foods so that they have the option to make those choices for themselves. And then down here, in 1980, there were no cases of type 2 diabetes among adolescents, but in 2010, there were 57,638, and that number is only growing. So, health among adolescents and our youth is definitely a big issue. So the business model that I'm kind of looking at here is such of Misfits Markets, Perfectly Imperfect Produce, and there's about 5 to 6 other companies that use the same business model. So they go to farmers and they buy the unwanted fruits and vegetables that the big box stores like Costco and then all the different grocery stores, Kroger and those places did not want to buy. Maybe they're damaged or have a little bruise on them, a weird shape, something like that. So typically they would just be food waste, but these companies are buying them and then shipping them directly to customers at a low price. So that's the business model that I want to use. So my solution is to use that business model like I just talked about, and then add an educational element. So add recipes or just information about the produce, how to cut it up, how to pick the right ones at the store, things like that, to really give people those tools to be able to apply what they're learning through the service that I'm creating into their everyday lives so that everyone feels comfortable buying fresh produce and things like that. I'm going to target low income individuals because they are a very underserved market right now in this marketplace. And then I'm going to accept SNAP benefits, which are just food stamps. So, really targeting that low income population. And then I'm going to create an app instead of a website. All of the existing competitors that I found are websites and not apps. However, my target market of this low income population is more likely to have a smartphone than they are to have their own laptop computer. I found in my research, so an app I feel like would be better accessible and more targeted towards them. So, continuing with more research, after I came up with that solution, I did some further research on this population to see if it would really be realistic to create a service like this. So, I did figure out that most people in this target market probably wouldn't go and look for a service like this since they are already on such a tight food budget. Typically, they would feel like these services that deliver food to their doorstep might be out of budget. So I need to ensure that I'm making it clear that this service would be worth it. It's really not going to be too much more expensive because it is going to be cheaper than it would be if you were to buy produce at the grocery store, since we are buying the unwanted ones. And then the educational material will also bridge that gap so that they can become more comfortable incorporating recipes and other healthy foods into their more everyday lives.
Typically, they lack education on how to prepare healthy meals, so I just really need to make sure that those recipes are super easy to understand, super easy to follow, so it's not intimidating for anyone.
So, another question that I kept coming back to is a company like this even desired by the population I'm targeting? Would they even want to eat healthy? Would they be interested in buying fresh produce from a service like this? And the answer that I found is yes. I actually went and talked to someone that I know in this target market and then looked at some food banks as well. So there are some services that food banks already offer, and then as you'll see as I go on this presentation, some competitors as well. But for specifically this target market, it's going to have to be presented to them. As I said before, they're probably not going to go out and look for a service like this on their own. So I really need to create some great marketing material that's going to find them and present the idea to them so that they become really interested in it and want to go and find more about it. And then provide easy to follow instructions on the preparation of food. I know I keep going back to this, but education really is one of the huge parts of this kind of business model that I'm trying to create. So making sure that those are kind of a crucial part of it is going to be key. And then convenient, delivering it straight to their doorsteps is very convenient. So that takes into account that maybe a lot of the people in the low income population are working multiple jobs, single moms, things like that. So it does make it a lot more convenient to them, for them, to get these fresh produce items delivered directly to their doorstep with easy to follow instructions. So that is something that I'm really going to try to advertise on. Competitors. So as I said before, Perfectly Imperfect Produce, Misfits Market, and there's like 5 or so of these companies that are using this business model that I've been talking about. However, none of them are targeting the same demographic of the low income populations as I am. Typically, they're targeting like a sustainably minded middle class couples or smaller families. But as I said so many times before, I am going to be targeting that low income population, so that's really where mine's going to differ. They don't have an educational element. Normally, these services do not include any recipes inside of them. The one up here, Perfectly Imperfect Produce, is the only one that does include some recipes on their website. And then mine is going to be an app, not a website, as I said before, because that is more accessible to the population that I'm targeting. Deliverables, so this is kind of what I'm thinking right now, could change a little bit, but I'm going to create personas, which are already completed, a branding guide, marketing campaign, print and email, and then packaging design, so what the package would look like that shows up on their doorstep, as well as those recipe cards that would be inside of them, and then design for the app as well. So my first persona here is Jada Quinn. She is a single mom. She has a son that's obese who's on track to have type 2 diabetes in his early adulthood, so that's really concerning to her. She's really ready to make some big lifestyle changes as her son is growing up and on this kind of not so great path that she feels responsible for. So she doesn't know how to prepare many vegetables because she grew up on a similar budget as he has, so she is on food stamps, but she's really ready to give it a try to eat healthier in order to change the course that her son is on so far. Anna Wilson here, she's a little bit younger, so she's 25, whereas Jada is 34. So Anna is getting married in 6 months. She wants to learn how to cook healthy meals before entering this next stage of her life and moving in with her future husband. She is in that low income population, and she's been overweight her whole life. She grew up as in the low income population as well, so she got a lot of value meals and ramen and things like that. So she grew up not really knowing much about nutrition, but she's really ready to learn as she's getting into this next stage. So this is my branding guide that I have so far. I really do like the logo that I've created, and I kind of like the font that I have to go along with it as well. I do like the color scheme, but it's not set in stone yet. And then the tone is kind of where I'm going, so friendly, direct, approachable, trustworthy. And then I'm just kind of throwing around ideas for the tagline right now. The marketing campaign, so in the end, I'm going to have both a print marketing and email marketing campaign. The prints could be hung up in the community or delivered to schools in the low income areas for students to take home, and then the email can be sent to all of the SNAP recipients. Right now, I feel like this looks pretty childish just with all the different cartoon characters and with the backdrop of the color scheme that I've created. So once I take pictures of the packaging design and fruits and vegetables, like real pictures in real life, I'm going to use those in the marketing campaign. So this is kind of on hold right now, and I'm going to come back to it. For packaging design, this was my initial mock-up. I went out and bought a box and just printed out some really rough copies of this. I realized after doing this that I need to make it much simpler, only use a couple copies, and kind of go back to the drawing board. I did contact the Makerspace in King Library though, so for my final draft I am going to make some vinyl stickers and put them on there, so it's going to look very professional hopefully. Recipe cards, haven't really done much on this yet, I'm getting to it, but this is just general ideas of some recipe cards that other companies have right now, so minimal steps, minimal extra ingredients they would have to have, and then easy to follow pictures. Ideas for the app, I want it to be super personalized. Onboarding is going to be a quiz about their food preferences and lifestyle. The quiz is going to give users a suggested box option based on their lifestyle preferences. Not much of a learning curve, intuitive user flow. This is my initial mock-up. Didn't love it, felt like it was pretty childish along with my marketing campaign as well. The idea was there though, so I went on to create this. This is where I'm at right now, so I do like how it looks a little more grown up and how the color scheme is still incorporated, but not to the extent where it looks like a circus. So I'm working on this right now and hopefully gonna move further on this in the upcoming weeks. And then next steps, is to create the entire app mock-up, so off of what you just saw, and then go back to the drawing board on the packaging design, start on the recipe cards, and then go out and photograph the fruits and vegetables and the packaging design once I'm done with that. So that's where I'm at. Thanks for listening.